I've just arrived in Taiwan and it's June 2020, so we've still got COVID restrictions in place. I've got to do 14 days in self-isolation here in this apartment. Today counts as day 0, so the numbers only start ticking from tomorrow onward. So really, since I arrived pretty early in the morning, it's 15 days as I see it. Pretty challenging, I reckon. I'm just staying at a friend's apartment. So far it feels fine, but I reckon this is going to be bit of a drag. At the same time, this might be a little bit crazy, but I just decided to do a first experience of fasting, and I'm not feeling super confident that I'll be able to follow through on that properly. I haven't eaten since 6 o'clock last night, so we're just at the very early stages of that. My goal is to go for 5 days, and like I say, the starting point is not one of high optimism. So again, this is starting day of the fast. Well, haven't eaten since last night, and just trying to keep my muscles relaxed for this, and just try and I'll step back a little bit, demonstrate what my body shape is like today. So I've accumulated a little bit of flab in certain spaces under the chin as well, so that's what we're like. If I tense my stomach a little bit, it's more like that. Relax, and then more tense, and here's the face. So it's almost 4 o'clock on my day of arrival. Pretty worn out because of the overnight flight last night, and I just had a bit of a nap of probably approaching about an hour. I kind of woke up from the nap in like this half nightmare state, wondering where I was and what I was doing, and this sort of fear I had of being in a quarantine for 14 days without, while fasting. It soon took me a couple of minutes to realize that that was actually real. So yeah, it's feeling like a bit of a drag at the moment. At the end of today, another 14 days of this to go. Woo, can't wait. Apparently today there's actually a solar eclipse, and I'm afraid I've got to miss out on this one because I can't get outside and get at an angle where I can actually see the sky, let alone the sun. Just make out little corners of sky actually. Anyway, I got to just take enjoyment in the excitement that the people outside are getting from all this. The evening of day 1 of fasting now, and pretty fine actually. I'm at the moment I think at about 26 or 27 hours or something like that, and the last half day at least I've not really been thinking of food that much, which I'm not sure how typical my experience is. I hear that day 2 and 3, so tomorrow and the following day, are usually the hardest. Gonna basically go to sleep. It's 9 PM here, but just come from Australia, so 11 PM there. Getting a bit worn out, especially with the overnight flight last night. So it is the day after my arrival. That makes this day 1 of my quarantine because yesterday didn't count. And probably about 36 hours into my fast now. Fast is going okay. I'm definitely hungry, got a bit of breakfast hunger, but it's definitely not desperate. If I'm, if I was just watching some little YouTube clip or whatever, random little video, and that was enough to take my mind off it. So yeah, I'm gonna push through on the fast for now. Definitely aiming to get to tonight a 48-hour target at a minimum, but I'll reevaluate sometime later on in the day to see if I want to persist on with that. As for quarantine, yeah, I mean, just staying in a kind of a dark and dingy place, I suppose. So I'm sort of feeling anxious about how 14 days is going to go. It's now the end of my 2nd full day of fasting, and that makes it the end of the day that counts as my first day in self-isolation. Basically 53 hours since my last meal now. I'd say today was a little easier than yesterday. It was basically okay. Still definitely feeling hungry, but basically I decided to play computer games to sort of put myself into an alternate reality where I just have my mind away from food, and that turned out pretty well. So basically I'm not a computer game player in general. I kind of think it's a bit of a waste of time, to be honest, but that is pretty much my purpose. While in self-quarantine, I just gotta burn through these 14 days and yeah, basically get through without losing my mind, I think is the key goal. It's currently day 5. I didn't do any recording of myself yesterday, but basically day 4 was pretty similar to day 3 and day 2 really. Some people talk about feeling euphoric or really clear and focused, or basically better on day 4 than they do on the difficult days of 2 and 3. But for me that was basically the same. In fact, yesterday I felt probably a little bit more hungry than I did on days 2 and 3. Overall though, it's all been pretty mild. It's never really been the intense hunger that you might feel when you're skipping your first meal. Yeah, that's one of the interesting sort of observations for me actually, that before doing this you kind of expect that you're just going to get more and more hungry with every day, and that, you know, 3 days of fasting, for example, is just going to be an increasing level of torture after skipping that first meal. But hunger comes and goes, and I would say it's never really as bad, in fact, as, you know, as what it feels like skipping just one meal. So it's just a matter of sustaining it for longer. At the moment my fast is basically scheduled to end in about 9 hours. That makes 120 hours in total, i.e. 5 days. I'm basically feeling similar to what I was yesterday at a similar time. It's about 8:45 here, and it was really in the evening yesterday that I started to feel a bit more hungry. But yeah, anyway, none of this kind of euphoria, clarity, strong spiritual connection to, you know, Mother Earth kind of thing. I haven't had anything like that. It's all been quite similar on day 4 and so far on 5 to what it was on days 2 and 3. So it's the end of day 5 of fasting, 120 hours, or it's actually 121 hours, so I'm a little bit late since I started. So I just ordered some food delivery because I'm not allowed to leave the house, of course, self-quarantine. But anyway, yeah, I'm pretty hungry at the moment. Maybe it's just the anticipation of finally eating. I'm supposed to eat, like, you know, something simple like beef broth or fruit juice or something like that. But self-quarantiners can't be choosers. So I've got some kind of salady chicken type thing coming, and see how that goes. I'm not sure what the consequences of, you know, eating more or differently to the simple type food that is suggested are gonna be. But I don't know, so in some ways my experience with fasting has been different to what I've read anyway, in terms of not having incredible moments of clarity or great energy on day 4 or 5 and stuff like that. So we shall see. So the food delivery arrived, but I just realized I should probably do a quick video of myself before eating, just to be able to compare any differences from when I started. So I caught a whiff of the food and I got a little bit excited, but I haven't eaten anything yet. I'll do one on my face as well. Remember at the start I did a relaxed stomach, and so this is relaxed. It's natural for it to come in a bit apparently due to not doing any digestion. So I just wanted to do this video before eating, and this is in a tense position. Not loving any exertion now, but that's what that looks like. I'll do my face as well. There we have it. So let's see what we have here. Maybe not quite the light meal that's suggested, but could be worse. Pretty natural looking stuff. Just put some sauce down on there. That's what it came with. And here goes. Eating's good. It's been a while. Anyway, we'll see if this makes me sick or something. Whether there's something truly irresponsible about eating something other than fruit or bone broth after a fast. Soon find out. It's about an hour and a half since I first started eating, and I was eating a little bit cautiously because of what I've read about you know, eating too much too fast and all the rest of it. But yeah, I mean, like, I still ate good meal's worth within about 30 minutes, so not that slow. And yeah, I haven't felt any issues in my stomach or anything that so far yet. No worries at all. So I'm not sure why my reaction is different to what some others have been, but or maybe it isn't. Maybe it's going to come later. We'll see. But anyway, I'm going to eat a little bit more because there's still a hole that can be filled in here. So it is the day after I finished the fast. It's now about 2 o'clock or something like that. So I've just had my second meal since finishing the fast. So effectively I kind of did an intermittent fast following the fast because it was about an 18-hour break between meals. Haven't had any of the stomach issues that people talk about, you know, or digestion or whatever it is. You know, people do say that you should start off with light meals, fruit, chicken broth, whatever it might be, after finishing a fast, and I ate a pretty decent meal, basically a full-size meal I'd say last night. Yeah, I haven't had any issues so far, so unless these issues are supposed to surface days later, I basically think that that's something I just haven't experienced. So during the fast itself, I've probably touched on this previously, but I just sort of recap and say that pretty much all the days were the same for me in terms of, you know, mood, physical, you know, level of hunger, energy level, focus, all of that. Skip the first or second meal, quite hungry. But after that, you know, once you're in the mindset of, no, I'm fasting, food isn't an option, you know, it's just easier going. Probably could have gone longer, because, like I say, it wasn't necessarily different from day to day. And if I could deal with day 4 and day 5, I could probably also deal with day 6 and day 7. I was getting a little bit jaundiced, and that was probably not really knowing the extent to which that's an issue. Maybe it's fine, maybe it's a diabolical crisis, I don't know, but I just figured that was reason enough for me to finish on day 5, especially since that was my plan starting out anyway, to do a 5-day fast. I am still in self-isolation. Thinking of the numbers, I must have like 10 days to go. Self-isolation has been fine so far. You know, it sucks, but there's people in much worse situations than me. You know, people have been isolated. I was talking to my friend in the Philippines who said that they've just been in isolation for months, basically. And I'm just thinking of people in the slums of Manila or whatever. You know, multiple people in a tiny little household in a little room or a shack, no aircon. God, I can't imagine being stuck in one of those places for weeks and months at a time, and with no clarity about when you can get out. In terms of a question on whether I met my goals or how I feel about fasting or whether I would do it again, basically, you know, what had interested me in fasting initially is just basically the long-term health benefits. And when I mention that, I'm mostly thinking of autophagy, which is the body's process. I'm not sure if I'm actually pronouncing that word correctly, but that's how it reads. The body's process of breaking down damaged cells and, you know, renewing them. I don't think that's something controversial or some kind of crackpot theory or anything like that. I believe that's basically mainstream. Hopefully, you know, I got that outcome. It's hard to say, but between that autophagy outcome and just the general fact that I wanted to try it at least once in my life, yeah, it's all good. I'm happy with the outcome. Yeah, I mean, the things that some people might be looking for, some kind of spiritual connection or experience of incredible clarity, or, you know, high energy levels while in ketosis, those are not things that I would say I experienced, but they're not things I was looking for or anything like that either. So all good, and yeah, I'm glad I basically went through it. I won't do it again in a hurry. Might kind of reconsider in a year or two or something like that. I am perfectly fine with doing intermittent fasting, which is, you know, just 18 hours, for example. Basically, the effort-reward ratio on that seems to be pretty healthy. So it is the day following the end of my quarantine. So I still haven't left. It's just mid-morning now. Had a bit of a sleep in today and just had breakfast or coffee basically. So I am about to head out. I'm expecting that I'll just be sort of shielding my eyes from the sun as I walk out, and just shriveling up in the face of the terrors of the outside world. So last basically didn't, you know, make any recordings since finishing the fast really not much to report. Basically, I got by okay in quarantine. It's nice now that it's over, but I was kind of comfortable enough in here. I thought I was gonna go nuts, but it was quite okay. You know, every day was kind of the same. I got a little bit of work done, yeah, sort of feel like I've discovered a new little comfort zone in this place after all. A bit dingy is what I was saying about it at the early stages, but somehow I just sort of become accustomed to it now. So anyway, I'm gonna head out now. Gonna set about getting my Taiwanese driver's license, and yeah, shielding myself from the sun.